Quincy Smith. Quincy Smith, you were very intelligent about content. I was shocked.
It's an honor.
What is the big takeaway there? Where is
Switch, can
content?
we talk about your camera angles on
no,
people first
not at
because
all.
of your
no,
height?
you know what? No.
It shows triple chins.
As you discussed, small bloggers are really important as we move forward.
Sure.
So explain.
More about. Okay, go ahead.
What's the big trend? Stop interrupting me, Quincy.
What's the big trend?
Yes.
There are about 1,000 big
in
trends.
content, what do you look at?
Oh, in content? We look at premium content, but we also allow the community to engage with the content more because we simply think that in this new world, content is still the seeds all the community, but the more content you put out, the better it is, the more people are going to engage, and in this new medium that's complementary to the other media, you get a better chance to spend more time with the audience, learning, sharing and quantifying their love and passion and ability to share with others the beauty of your own content.
A lot of those guys talked about small media getting big versus big media getting small.
They didn't talk about big media getting small.
I know, but big media is contracting while small media is getting bigger.
Depends on your definition of small. If you're talking about market caps, probably that's happening right now, but in terms of audience being reached, CBS Interactive adds another 278 million eyeballs to the overall CBS family, which is already big enough.
So you're still big. Quincy's still big.
We try hard. CBS
Listen,
is.
any comment on Hulu? Any message to Jason Kilar?
Gold standard. Hi, Jason. Congratulations on being such a good product manager in the media world.
Very nice, Quincy. Jeff Weiner, Mr. LinkedIn. How you doing?
Good. How
Good.
are
That
you?
was an interesting content panel. Explain to me what your takeaway was. Mine was Bankoff's phrase, flat is the new up.
Well, yeah, Jim was referring to the impact of some of the financial uncertainty and some of the cutbacks in budgets. And I think folks, especially some of those smaller startups, to the extent that they can keep things flat and not start digging into their pockets and their cash reserves, that's certainly a focus for some of those folks. Separately, you had a guy like Scott Moore who's about to join Microsoft, where cash isn't going to be the issue.
Right.
And so it's interesting to hear various perspectives from folks at the startup level and folks at the very large portal level.
How do you look at content shaking out of this whole sort of economic crisis? Because there's a lot of small stuff going on, and they are growing bigger.
Yeah.
And the big stuff is seeing problems, you know, the big portals.
Well, I think John Battelle had an interesting line where he said, yeah, there's a lot of small, but after a while you start collecting pennies, and the pennies add up to dollars.
And so they say.
Well, and you look at the trends in microblogging, of course, Twitter, Facebook.
You've been a big proponent of that when you were at Yahoo. And
I think that certainly microblogging is changing the way content is being distributed, content is being merchandised and marketed, and in that respect, small is most definitely bigger.
Really?
Because you get these viral effects when people are tweeting certain ideas, certain memes. It's really interesting to, for example, download an application like TweetDeck, put in a keyword, and watch the way the conversation takes place around those keywords.
Right,
and you can see virality live in action. And I think that's an example of how small units can add up and create a lot of value.
So, Scott Moore, that was a fascinating content discussion. Now, you were talking about microblogging a lot. Explain what that means. I mean, we all know what it means.
Well, it's sort of like, you know, the status updates on Facebook or tweeting on Twitter.
So how is that a big business? Because a lot of it was like big and small is the new big is the new small kind of thing. You're going to a very big organization.
Yeah, I took
and
a little
you came
bit,
from one.
Right. I took a bit of a contrarian attitude on that. I mean, I think Facebook status is definitely something that I think is going to catch on with the masses. It already is, quite clearly, and it's really entertaining to go into Facebook and sort of see what your friends are up to from moment to moment. But I don't see that as like a huge business by itself. It's more like a feature of social networking. And social networking, I think, is more of a substitution for email and other forms of sort of communication. It's a one-to-many communication medium as opposed to like cannibalizing media.
Yeah, that was Quincy Smith being the clown that he is. Anyway, so the idea is that you have both of them, or that the big network is not dead? The idea that the large mass market internet portal is not gone?
Oh, not by a long shot. I mean, you know, the portals, you know, if you want to include AOL, Yahoo, and MSN, have by far the largest audiences across a number of properties, you know, media properties, of anybody. So there are vertical competitors out there, you know, that are big in one area or another, but nobody has the kind of breadth of audience that those portals have. And that trend hasn't really changed.
And when the big advertising dollars do come back eventually after this economic downturn, do you feel, where are they coming to? Online, finally?
Definitely. I mean, we're in the midst of this big secular shift from traditional media to online. That is not going to change because of the recession. It certainly will hurt us, you know, near term in terms of revenue into the medium. But over the long run, just as people spend more and more of their time and of their discretionary attention, if you will, online, then the advertisers and marketers have to follow.
They're here with Jim Bankoff, former AOLer. Now he's a sports mogul, apparently.
Hey, Kara.
Hey, what was the tenure of that? That there's pennies to be made, and you can become rich in content, or what?
I just think there's a lot of communities of interest, and the question is, how do you bring them together into a business, a scalable business? And that's what we're trying to do. Different companies are trying to do it in different ways. Sports happens to be a great way to do it because there are so many teams, and it's such a naturally big
but you're competing with the bigs like AOL and Yahoo. Or AOL
you know what? We're actually partnering with Yahoo. We just launched a partnership with them yesterday, and I think what they see is they're not going to go to the length of creating Celtics blog, which is the biggest Boston Celtics blog, and do that for every single team across pro and college and even high school and everything else. And so I think we're filling gaps that other companies just can't do.
You're going small to get big, right?
Going small to go big. I like that.
Excellent.
That's right.
That's your motto. You can have it.
Acting locally.
And the economy, very briefly.
The economy, you know what? It's a tough time, obviously, but as they say, and it's cliche because it's a reason that now's the time to build great businesses. We want to build the next billion-dollar media property. We know it's not going to happen overnight.
I can't wait.
Yeah, we know it's not going to happen overnight, but the secular trends are in our way, are in our favor, and if we do our jobs right, we'll emerge from this in a really strong position with some great assets that will be very valuable.
John Battelle?
Is this the HD one?
No, it's not. No, let's not discuss that. Here we are discussing content. You were on a content panel, and you were talking about where it's going.
Is that what it was about? I thought it was microblogging to macro finance.
Well, it is. No. Here's the deal. Small is the new big. Correct? Not correct? You were talking about pennies to dollars.
Yeah, well, certainly lots of small equals big, right? Absolutely.
So where do you think content is going, especially in this economic environment? Can't forget that.
I think that the people who made all the money from owning and controlling and producing the content are in trouble. Duh. Just look at their stocks. And the really interesting, nimble companies that are figuring out ways to engage audiences are going to come out winning because the people with the money, that would be the brands, are looking for more efficient new ways to connect to audiences that feel more real.
Does that mean the end of mass market?
No, I think actually it means, and you've probably heard this a million times, but the Oscars, the Super Bowl, any sort of event-based stuff that is a big media production, that's going to get more and more expensive and more valuable. I think you get a lot of squeeze in the middle, and then I think you find a million pieces, and figuring out how to curate those pieces together is a very, very significant asset. Google, first really big example of that in terms of market cap. Not a million pieces, a billion.
A gazillion.
Gazillion pieces.
A Google.
Right, a Google, right. But I think now the media industry is starting to figure out that it's okay to engage in places that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, were considered to be unsafe.
Interesting.
Facebook, social networks, blogs, community platforms, whether they're small like Mix, medium like Dig, or huge like Facebook. I think that marketers are starting to figure out how to be there, and that means big opportunity for nimble companies. I happen to run one of those. So I'm very excited, even though it's a terrible time.
Right. Excellent, John. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.